Welcome to the Pandemonium Witches podcast, where the ADHD has just a touch of the tism, where the true crime is just as scary as the hauntings and unsolved cases, and the hosts never stay on topic for long. I'm Kat.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Em. And I'm Meg.
We are the Pandemonium. My feral shirt is dirty. I just realized you're wearing a feral shirt.
He's wearing one of my feral shirts. So
Well, I know, but I got a new one.
I love
Josh
it.
Josh and I got matching ones.
Nah.
I love it.
But anyways, since you started recording, good morning.
Good morning.
we just jumped straight to talking about t-shirts.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like, I just got this yesterday.
I love it.
It's cute. I was looking into getting some Pandemonium shirts made, and I know Michaela wanted one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna try and figure out a way to have merch or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
I got to figure that out, but I know we can outsource it to another company, so it's print on demand.
That'd be cool.
I
think Shauna has stuff like that, so we could maybe talk to her about what she does.
Oh, our lovely Shauna. She makes the jewelry.
Yes.
Yes.
She also has like merch. I don't know if she still does, but I know she did for a little while.
Okay. Yeah, we can reach out to her. So this is episode 97. We're going to be doing 13 episodes for Halloween. For all you spooky people out there. You did the hint last time.
Yes.
Okay. He is secco. No, he's not. Never mind. They are laying on the couch together.
Okay, good. As long as they're both preoccupied.
Not yet. Yeah, he's tired. He woke up with her. I don't want to say 6, and he let me sleep in. I didn't get up until 6:45. It was so cute. I came out and her head just perked up, and it's just all ears, just 100% satellite. Also helping Casey with her website. If you guys are interested in fostering or adopting animals, you should check out Maverick's House, which is her website. I think. Let me look it up. It's mavshouse.com, I think.
Okay.
Yes. Mavshouse.com. And I'm going to send it to you just so you can see what I'm looking at. Her and her husband, Brandon, named it after their cat, Maverick. And he had passed away, and you know, he was the best kitty. But of course, he was named after Top Gun Maverick, and of course, they have an animal named Goose. Only makes sense. But she's an amazing person, loves all of her animals. She also has a boarding house. That's right. Hint. I'm going off topic. I'm squirreling again.
It's okay. I went and I gave them a like, so.
Fantastic. One of the items on the list I have been to several times. It is a place. Yep. That's it. I know I was thinking about
that
something
doesn't
else.
narrow it down whatsoever.
No, but there is a very cute photo that I have of me at this place, which I will not post here yet, because people will try to Easter egg it and be like, oh, I can see something here. No, we're not doing that. This was the one time me and both of my brothers got along. We were playing Cat's Cradle. and I know exactly where that's at. Which, well, let's talk about it. We can talk about Trey's. Trey, here's another shout out for you. So, tell our listeners what he said?
Okay, so he was like, I heard my name and now I'm getting called out. This episode already sounds 5 times better.
I mean, it took 4 hours that one day to figure out what in the flittering fuck happened. Pardon my French, but and finally figured out it's because of the mics. There's nothing we can do about it.
He said he loved it / hated it altogether. Excited for it. Because I told him that he was going to get shouted out so much in the 100th episode.
But yeah,
He's like, oh no. He also said the first thing I think about when they describe the Duchess is I could fix her, like it's a reflex action.
well, he did not.
And then he said, "Is it bad that I'm upset that my sign was not in the serial killer list?"
What is his sign?
June 9th. So he's a Gemini.
So there are serial killers that are Geminis. There's Mary Bell, David Berkowitz, son of Sam, Kenneth Bianchi, Richard Chase, Andreas Pandy, Dennis Rolling, and Jeffrey Dahmer, the people number, was a Gemini. So you're welcome, Trey. You are associated with serial killers. I don't know why you would want to be, but
also on that list, there is no Capricorn. So I'm not on the list.
I'm not either. But I mean, the leader of Jonestown was a Taurus, but he was also having so much nose candy. So I don't think
So he kind of fucked up his brain on his own on that one. Um, he also said, of course, the Latter day Saints in Utah are keeping the state from banning child marriages. And then he went, oops, I stabbed you in the heart with aggressive intent, but it was just accident, obviously. Murder is so much better than this topic. Because he said US military as an exception? What the fuck? She was feral. Wow, her kill streak gets insane. Lowercase punishment. And send her to Sweden. Why did you have to delete an episode? Nuns that are into BDSM is kind of wild, but not surprising. And then he went, that episode has such great audio engineering. Sound is so much better. I should have a hydration station. And then I called him a dehydrated houseplant. And he said, yes, I am. Kat is laughing so hard she's coughing.
speaking of hydration stations, do you have your setup?
I do. And I took my meds. So y'all need to take your meds.
I said a double whammy. Look at that.
I'm trying to stay on top of it.
Oh God, I love it. And Michaela couldn't watch the last episode. Totally get it. And we've said this several times before. If you can't watch an episode, it's okay. It's okay if the subject is too grotesque or too disgusting for your liking.
Exactly. Like, we completely understand.
We're the ones who research it. Of course, we know it's disgusting.
Right?
So
Anyways,
would you like to know the updates?
yes.
Okie dokie. Let me turn off the big light because it hurts my eyeballs.
That's why I was not thrilled about having to turn on all the lights in here. Is it hurts my head. That's why I was fussing about turning on the big lights because it hurts my head.
Listen, I get it, except your entire face with shadows. Also, I find it funny that I'm a non-alcoholic and I'm wearing an alcoholic shirt. Just saying.
But it's not exactly an alcoholic shirt. You're here's for the booze. As, eh.
It's
It can be
butterbeer.
non-alcoholic booze.
So I have one little section. Gotta turn down the audio. That's just we have a note on our Elizabeth Barraza episode, episode 75, Murder Before Sunrise, the unsolved case of Liz Barraza, from Palacico's Texas Beauty 2872. Been following this case since it happened. I lived 30 minutes away where they lived in Tomball. You should definitely watch Eyes on Crime and what she says about Sergio. In my opinion, he's very suspicious and he had something to do with Liz's murder. If I remember correctly, Sergio was the husband, right?
I think so. Pulling up that information real quick.
Episode, I talked about how I suspected it was Sergio and how all of my notes were coming back to the same conclusion that it was probably him. Even though he said he had an alibi, the alibi was wishy-washy and he had all these reasons. Also, I dyed my hair green, besides the point. I had all of these like reasons on why he was probably it. A lot of the other people that I've talked to regarding their loved ones getting schmurdered is that they have no problem talking to me. Like the ones that I've reached out that are cold cases, they were like, yes, absolutely. Like Kim. Kim is fantastic. I've reached out to her a couple of times, but I not only did he not want to respond to me, he blocked my phone number. I called him twice and sent a text. I sent him an email. So that on its end is kind of shady for me. Along with the fact that, I get it, you move on and everything like that, but it was only like 6 months before he started dating the person that he's, you know what I
And
mean?
that's just odd. Like, everybody moves on at their own pace, but that's really fast.
That's like plaid. They've gone plaid. If you don't get that reference, you're not old enough. And then for the other comments that we got, um, on the pod, it was Casey. She's so pretty. She had her hair down. It was so curly, kind of like mine is today. I washed my hair last night. It was great. So our Spotify is still at 101. We have had 5+ followers this last month, so great on that. We have 2,591 streams. And the latest comments are from Trey. Episode 91, Shop Till You Drop Dead, about Dana Sugray. All of my credit cards will be called plastic swipes now.
The swipey swipes.
The swipey swipes. And then on 92, Russia's Worst Duchess, the Blood Duchess, not to be consumed or confused by
Well,
the
please don't consume either, but
we don't want you to consume the Blood Duchess. That would be wrong. Um the audio sounds great on this episode. Thanks for the aggressive call out with XD. And that's just kind of funny. That is all the updates that we have for today, aside from our Facebook. My baby. Oh, I have to block this out. That is little Lunora. So of course I have to cut that part out because she is just,
we don't show babies' faces on
we
internet.
do not show babies' faces on the internet. That is not how we do it. La boo boo. Okay, and last but not least, our Facebook, our book of the face. We have 110 followers on our Instagram and 70 followers on our Facebook page, which is great. We love that. And then as far as our Facebook group, I think that has more people. 105, which ain't bad because that's where everybody can post. The Facebook page is where only we can post. But yeah, I am ready. Today is your day. Okay, I'm ready.
Are you sure?
No, because I'm afraid it might be arsenic.
No, it's not arsenic this time.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Okay, I'm ready. This is a Pandemonium Witches podcast trigger warning. The following episode contains graphic violence and gruesome depictions. Listener discretion is advised.
So this one is a mystery on how it happened.
We love a good whodunit.
Like, it is literally called The Mystery.
Legit, like its name.
Yes, it is called the Pimlico Mystery, but also known as the Pimlico Poisoning Mystery.
It's not arsenic, but it's still poisoning, Rachel.
You just said it wanted to know if it was going to be arsenic again. This time it's just a different poison.
Thing.
Then we need to get another sign that says, how many days since the last poisoning?
I can make that. I can make that. We have a whiteboard in the hallway. I'm pretty sure I can probably convince him to put it in here. It says how many days from the last poisoning and write it backwards so everybody can see it and just put it right there.
Sounds like a good plan. Just high enough that little miss can't fuck with it.
Not going to happen because she jumped on the table the other day, so it's only a matter of time before she jumps on the stove.
That's valid. Okay. Anyways, so the name was given to the circumstances that surrounded the 1886 death of Thomas Edwin Bartlett, possibly at the hands of his wife, Adelaide Blanche Bartlett, in the Pimlico district of London, England.
Okay, so we're taking a trip across the pond. Love
Yes.
the name Adelaide.
So there was a fatal amount of chloroform that was found in his stomach, despite causing no damage to his throat or windpipe, and no evidence of how it got into his stomach.
Chloroform, like the...
Because to knock the person out, you're breathing in the vapors of it, but it comes in liquid form.
Go on.
So Adelaide was tried for his murder, but was acquitted. By the jury's own statement in court, her acquittal was partly secured because the prosecution could not prove how she could have committed the crime. And that was the TLDR.
So the TLDR, she was acquitted of killing her spouse.
Of supposedly killing her spouse. That
Al-
there's never any.
Allegedly.
Yes. So she was born in 1855 to Clara and Adolphus Cola de Thoras de Scurry. Yeah, I had to take a little bit pronouncing his name. So
That's funny.
Clara was the daughter of a stock exchange clerk, and Adolphus was a widower and was described as a pensioned naval officer in the French service, and was the son of the Duke of Thouars, which is a commune in western France.
Oui, oui, ha ha, titi, croissant.
Exactly. So Clara and Adolphus had 4 children that were documented and baptized. You had Henry Edward de Thouars, born March 16th, 1853, and he lived a full life, died of old age. You had Adelaide, and then you had Frederick de Scurry, who was born about 1858, but he didn't live to adulthood. And then Clara Amelia was born June 23rd, 1959, and died in 1873. So she was not quite 20, so she didn't live a full life either. Which was, fairly common in, 1800s. So,
I mean, yeah.
anyway, so Adelaide married Thomas Edwin Bartlett, who was born in 1845. In 1875, when she was 20 and he was 30. So about 10-year difference. Adelaide said it was intended to be a platonic marriage, but it was documented that she had a stillborn in 1881. So I don't think it was so much a platonic marriage.
Yes and no. Because, like, around that time, even if you did have a quote unquote platonic marriage, you still had to produce children. Otherwise, it would be quote unquote frowned upon by the church and state.
Well, the reason why she had a stillborn was because Thomas supposedly had refused her female nurses, which, her midwife's advice, to call for a male doctor during her difficult labor because he didn't want another man to interfere with her.
As Nurse Joan would say, pardon?
Like, that's not how that works. Like, you literally could have just killed your wife as well. And the fact that it caused the death of your child because of this, like, if he had let her get the help that she needed, they probably wouldn't have had a stillborn because the baby probably died because of the difficult labor.
Think her husband is sounding more and more like the dude bros I used to deal with at the hospital when I was, because I worked all the floors, right? Um, the guys, the dude bros that would be like, yeah, can you just pop another stitch in there? That's what he sounds like.
Yeah, the infamous husband stitch. Ugh.
Yeah, guys, no, don't do that. That's not a thing.
I mean, it is a thing, but only because they've turned it into a thing. It causes so much pain and complications and everything, guys. So, 4 years later, they meet Reverend George Dyson, who was a local Wesleyan minister, and he became a frequent visitor at their house.
Go on.
So George became Adelaide's tutor and the couple's spiritual counselor and their friend. If the story that George and Adelaide told was correct, then George was encouraged to openly romance Adelaide with Thomas's permission.
What?
Yeah. Thomas was suffering from several illnesses, including rotting teeth and tapeworms. And he was also supposedly a faddist. For everybody that doesn't know, that's a person who readily and enthusiastically follows a short-lived trend or craze, often moving from one fad to another with little lasting commitment to any particular one. So he believed that animal magnetism uh, was a key to health.
No. 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 Like schlepping with animals?
So, animal magnetism was a theory that was invented by German doctor Franz Mesmer in the 18th century. It basically says that the existence of an invisible natural force is possessed by all living things, including humans, animals, and vegetables. He claimed the force could have physical effects, especially healing.
Vegetables?
Apparently, vegetables.
Talk Gordy to me.
So, um, Thomas was believing in this, but his reported eccentricities were partly based on what he learned from Adelaide and George, apparently.
Eccentricities?
Yeah, that word. So Thomas made George the executor of his will, where he left the entire state to Adelaide, sorry, um, on condition that she didn't remarry, which was a common clause then. However, he later redid his will 4 months before he died, where he removed the condition of Adelaide not being able to remarry.
All right.
So, toward the end of 1885, Adelaide asked George to get some chloroform for her, which had been prescribed to Thomas by his doctor, Alfred Leach. Dr. Leach later admitted that he had prescribed it reluctantly, but that Thomas had insisted on needing it.
Like Thomas needed it.
Yes. So, when getting any kind of medical poison, you had to sign the book at the chemist's pharmacy as a way to track who got what, how much, and when, but only for large amounts. George decided he was going to buy 4 small bottles of chloroform instead of the one large bottle, and then proceeded to get them from different shops. He told the chemist that he needed the chloroform to remove grease stains.
That's not how that works.
It was only after Thomas died that George realized how suspicious his actions were.
You don't say.
On New Year's Eve, 1885, Thomas returned home from a visit to the dentist and went to sleep alongside Adelaide in their flat. Just before 4 a.m. the following morning, Adelaide asked their maid to fetch Dr. Leach, fearing Thomas was dead before rousing their landlady.
I have questions, but keep going.
So Thomas's stomach was filled with liquid chloroform. It is possible that the stories of Thomas's alleged suicide might have been believed and his death considered free of foul play, except that his father, who had always hated Adelaide and had early accused her of having an affair with Thomas's younger brother, became extremely suspicious and persuaded authorities to look into the death.
She was knocking boots with his brother?
So it's what his father suspected.
No shame in this house. But damn, girl, you got don't shit where you eat.
I mean, it gives a new meaning to keeping in the family, I guess.
Joel.
What? So an
Wow.
inquest. So an inquest under a Mr. A. Braxton Hicks.
Stop it.
Yeah, that was his name. Returned a verdict of willful murder by Adelaide Bartlett, with George Dyson being an accessory before the fact, and they were both arrested. The coroner tried to have Adelaide give evidence at the inquest because she was not permitted at that time to give sworn evidence on her own behalf at her trial, which only changed with the Criminal Evidence Act of 1898.
Okay.
So the trial opened the 12th of April, 1886, and attracted great press coverage both in the UK and abroad. At the opening of the trial, charges were read out against both George and Adelaide, but the prosecution immediately asked for the charges against George to be dropped, and he was formally acquitted.
Okay.
In doing this, it enabled the prosecution to call him as a prosecution witness, but it also made it possible for the defense to take advantage of his testimony. So they had a reason for doing that.
I can see that.
So Adelaide was defended by Sir Edward Clarke, who suggested Thomas Bartlett had committed suicide. Edward's taking on the case was rumored to be due to the fact that Adelaide's mysterious father's intervention. The prosecution was in the hands, as tradition in England and Wales until 1957, of the Attorney General at the time, Sir Charles Russell. Because remember, her father was a higher up naval officer.
Right. Right. I remember.
So he probably pulled some strings.
I mean, it's sounding like it, but I mean, like, the consequences have actions.
100%. So again, Adelaide was not able to testify in her own defense, and the defense called no witnesses, although it did give a 6-hour closing statement to the court.
6 hours.
The main forensic aid to Adelaide is that the liquid chloroform reached the stomach without burning the sides of Thomas's throat and larynx. Thomas did not have any burns on his body, so like nothing on his mouth or like his nose or anything. This bolstered the suicide theory, for such rapid drinking suggested that the drinker had rushed the poison drink down.
Okay. How much was found in his stomach? Because you just said chloroform was found in his stomach, but was it like trace amounts, or was it like a full cup, or like a gallon? Like,
His stomach was filled with it. So, quite a bit. I mean, this was also 1885, so they records have varied since then.
Okay, so I just looked up how much a stomach can actually contain without rupturing. At rest, if it's empty, 50 milliliters, which is a couple of tablespoons. Completely filled, about 1 liter or about a quart. Maximum capacity, which means you have food in there and other stuff, 2 to 4 liters or zero point 0.5 to 1 gallon, which is at risk of rupture or serious complications. I've I mean, in the medical facility, you have to work with different things. And we have worked with chloroform, so we know what happens to skin. Your skin can get burned off if you use too much of a certain uh liquid, you know? But I mean, like, chloroform is like acidic.
So, roughly the um, so these small chloroform bottles of that time held volumes ranging under 1 ounce to 4 ounces, and so he got 4 bottles. So if he got 4 bottles of the 4 ounces, um, that's 20 ounces. Wait, no, 16 ounces. I was like, can't math right now. So, um, so there's been a small German dropper bottle that once contained chloroform had been documented at a volume of 15 milliliters, whereas others have been labeled as holding 4 fluid ounces. So, but still,
It's a lot.
it's, yeah. And for his stomach to be full of it, he was chugging them.
But you said there was no burn marks on the mouth or throat. I have a thought.
Okay.
Okay. Um, a lot of people will put tubes or NG tubes that go from the nose into the stomach. So what if he was like knocked out and they stuck it? You heard that, right?
I did.
I live in a haunted house. It is me. I am the problem. If I weren't here, we wouldn't have this problem.
I
Just like,
know.
but if they put like a scope down his throat into his stomach, or if they put it, down his nose, they could have just started siphoning like you siphon gas.
I mean, that's very true. So anyway, so because the fact that he didn't have any burns, they tried to paint it as a suicide theory, because such rapid drinking suggested that the drinker, had rushed the poison down. And when the jury returned to court after considering its verdict, the foreman said, "Although we think grave suspicion is attached to the prisoner, we do not think there is sufficient evidence to show how or by whom the chloroform was administered." The foreman then confirmed that the verdict was not guilty, which then greeted with rapturous applause, as public opinion had moved in Adelaide's favor during the course of the trial.
No.
So the issue of how it got into Thomas's stomach without burning him internally in the throat led the famous surgeon Sir James Paget to make this famous quip. Now that she has been acquitted for murder and cannot be tried again, she should tell us in the interest of science of how she did it.
She was acquitted. She can't be tried again, right?
Right. So he's like, well, tell us how you did it, since if you truly know, tell us in the interest of science. Which, I mean, Because curiosity.
True. And I mean, like, the whole thing, like, OJ Simpson wrote that book, If I Did Do It. Remember that? I mean, like, if you were acquitted and you were like, well, if I did do it, this is how I would have done it.
So after the trial, both Adelaide and George vanished from public notice. The authors of The Life of Sir Edward Clarke, which came out in 1939, reported that they had an impression that Adelaide later married George, but that they had also heard a theory that the two never met again.
Wait. So you're okay. Hold on. Let's pause and rewind. So she was stooping the priest. And then this
Supposedly.
and then allegedly. And then they never know.
So the novelist Julian Simons, in his novelization of the story Sweet Adelaide, suggested that she immigrated to the US, settled in Connecticut, and died there sometime after 1933, although others regard her post trial life as mysterious. As for George, Richard Whittington Egan's study of William Ruffhead's life reported that a woman in Maryland claimed in 1939 that he had come to New York City, changed his name, and as a fortune hunter married and murdered a young bride, her sister, for her estate in 1916. Alternatively, Kate Clark reports that Methodist Church records state that George immigrated to Australia, which church records are usually pretty spot on for that kind of thing, though.
They always were because the church had meticulous records as far as when people moved, at least over there, overseas, over there.
Well, and especially to Australia, because at that point they were still sending prisoners there. So
Ellen.
they had to make sure that things were documented, at least for non prisoners.
Well, and especially the census, because back then that's how most of the world got their census, at least where there were churches in quote unquote state. They would go to the church and the church would have these meticulous books because people would come and register with the city, which would be at the actual church itself. Because that's when I did the research for, I think it was before Meg did it, I was looking at Louisiana and I was looking at it, I was like, oh wow, because they had so many parishes. And so for every county there was like 4 or 5 parishes, and then the parishes would get together and then they would have a consensus book, and that, not consensus, but a census book. And that census book would be, why are you making that face?
I'm gonna screenshot it to you and send it.
Oh no. I don't like it when she says that, because then I have to see what she sees, and I don't I don't know if I want to see it.
It's gonna get sent to the sister chat. I just got a friend request from an ex.
Ew. Mercury isn't in retrograde anymore. What the fuck?
Hey about it.
Who the fuck is your mutual friend?
A girl I've known since elementary school.
No, ma'am.
This just gonna sit there because fuck that shit.
That is what the delete and the block button are for.
Well, I have him blocked, so he can't send me messages, but I don't have his profile posted just so that way I can see if he's like posting if he's coming to town so I know what areas to avoid. And also so that way he can see me live my fabulous best life.
I mean, yeah, I still have I know they're watching one. I don't have them blocked on Instagram. I don't have them blocked on here either, and I don't give a shit. My ex best friend and my ex boyfriend, I went to her house in the middle of nowhere for her birthday, and I invited him because I was like, this is gonna reignite the spark because we'd been dating for like 8 months, and he was going through some serious stuff, and I was like, oh, I think it's gonna work out. No, they got together on her birthday while him and I were still together. And I found out later from a friend that they got together on her birthday. And yeah. So I still have them blocked every which way. Phone numbers, emails, everything. I just don't have them blocked on here because I want them to see that I'm living a fabulous and wonderful life and that I'm very happy. And
Exactly.
I was half tempted to unblock them. And I was like, no, no.
No, that's exactly why I have him blocked from
Messages and calls.
messaging me, because I don't have to deal with that. Um, he can't get in contact with me because his phone number is blocked. His the messages are blocked. He's blocked on WhatsApp. Like, he's blocked on everything except for profile one, so I can um, occasionally check and see like if he's coming to town, and I can avoid parts of town. But also so that way he can see me live my most fabulous witchy life. So fuck him. Anyways, back to topic. So, according to John A. Vickers, who researched Methodist history in 2002, George Dyson immigrated to America, changed his name to John Bernard Walker, and became a naturalized citizen. Initially as a journalist, he eventually became the editor of Scientific America and wrote several books.
Okay.
So for the media for this, so the movie My Letter to George, or Memorized with Jodie Foster, was loosely based on that of Adelaide Bartlett, who in 1886 went on trial for the chloroform poisoning of her husband. In the book Hitchcock slash Tuffant, Alfred Hitchcock tells French New Wave filmmaker uh, Francois Defont that he once intended to make a film about this case, but later on he dropped the idea because Francois' film Jules and Jim also dealt with, according to his vision, a menage a trois. He says that one of the scenes of the picture would feature Adelaide and George making violent love while Thomas just puffs smoke out of his mouth and stares at a pipe while sitting in a rocking chair.
Well, okay then. That's we don't kink shame in this house. That is personal preference.
I mean, I probably would have chose a more comfier chair than a rocking chair, but that's just me. So, next one is the CBS radio program Crime Classics produced and aired an episode entitled The Shockingly Peaceful Passing of Thomas Edwin Bartlett, Greengrocer, on June 22nd, 1953, that dramatized the story of this case for its audience with some changes of the facts. This case was also dramatized on the radio series The Black Museum in 1952 under the title of Four Small Bottles. And then the BBC broadcasted an 8-part drama about the case as part of the TV series A Question of Guilt in 1980.
So it was talked about quite a lot. Also, I sent a picture to the sister chat. They are both asleep in the same position.
Oh, that's adorable. So I basically found a transcript of the actual trial. thanks to Murderpedia. There was several. I say several. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I had 8 links, one of which being the transcript. She was actually pretty.
As opposed to like Nanny Doss.
Yeah. I mean, because Adelaide was pretty young. I say pretty young. George, hold on. George definitely had a mustache for days. And Edwin was not exactly a looker. Boop. Dissent.
Look at that mustache.
Right?
It looks like a little caterpillar just kind of hung out for the day. Hold on, let me look through these. So they were both asleep. They were both sleeping in the same position. She just climbed all the way up him and just started chewing on his hair and licking his face. It's adorable.
She's like, okay, nap time's over now.
She's like, we're done. We're done napping. No more. I might need to take her out in a minute. Okay, so she's super pretty. Oh, there's a photo. You know who she reminds me of? She was on Heroes. Hold on. It keeps changing my search engine from Yahoo or from Google to Yahoo. And I'm like, what the fuck? Her name is Clea Duval. And she's done a couple of shows, but like that's where I knew her from. You're right. She looks a lot better than Annie Doss. Earth to Rachel.
Sorry, I was reading one of the transcripts. Give me a second. Okay, so um, so Sir James Paget, I guess. No, it was Dr. Leach gave several possibilities of how it happened. So one is that that Thomas took the chloroform maliciously to distress his wife with his symptoms after she admitted her intentions of using it on him. Presumably, his intention would not have been to kill himself, but only to make himself ill. Another is that of accidental ingestion of the poison has to be considered, of course. And then because they're like, oh, well, because he had dental work done, it took a while for, because his mouth would have been already inflamed, it took a while for the burning and everything for him to realize what he was doing. But on balance, accidental ingestion seems the least likely possibility. The third possibility is that of Adelaide murdering him. Certainly fixed some of the facts. Her motive was that despite any outward appearance to the contrary, she saw herself happier married to George than to Thomas. She she got the chloroform with George's help and used the vapor to make him drowsy, probably with his consent, as the pain of the dental treatment may have made sleep difficult. She then offered her husband brandy, which has a fiery taste, perhaps giving him a few sips. Pouring the chloroform into the wine glass, she would have persuaded her husband to swallow in one draught what he thought was more brandy. The inflamed state of his mouth may have delayed the sensation of burning pain until it was too late and he had swallowed the poison. She could have just as easily have continued using the vapor until he was dead, but believed that the liquid was a sure way and was convinced that it would be dissipated before the autopsy. She poured more brandy down the dying man's throat to try to disguise the smell of the chloroform, then hid the bottle, and then sat by the bed for 2 or 3 hours after he died before she woke the maid and the landlord. As soon as she had the opportunity, she disposed of the chloroform bottle. George panicked, and she was forced to invent the story that she recounted to Dr. Leach, that Edwin had poisoned himself. In each of these possible scenarios, the puzzle remains concerning that the fact that no traces of burning were noticed in the mouth and throat of the dead. Perhaps the state of his mouth made it more difficult than otherwise to detect the signs. The evidence is clearly balanced to suggest either murder or suicide, with the suicide theory appearing marginally more convincing. Adelaide did not marry George, but returned to Orleans, the place of her birth, leaving behind her one of the most intriguing poisoning cases of the 19th century.
She should have been. She should have got behind bars for what happened.
Right, because lesser evidence has convicted other people more easily.
I mean, the thing that I'm having a problem with is it definitely couldn't have been accidentally ingested, because there would have had to have been burns here and burns in his mouth, unless they put like a funnel in his mouth with a tube going straight to his stomach, or did the tube through his nose. But I mean, like, this is preposterous.
I did find that it was a 4-ounce bottle.
The liquid in his stomach.
Yes.
So by ingesting it, like once it was in his stomach, he was probably dead before he even ingested it.
He probably did not long after he swallowed it.
Because I mean, scientifically, from the scientific standpoint, the the liquid mixing with the gases in his already filled stomach, because I'm assuming he already had food in his stomach.
The stomach contents was found to contain liquid chloroform, which smelt so distinctly that it was a freshly opened bottle. Um, and that when the landlords came up, uh, the male landlord found the body cold and estimated that the time of death had occurred several hours earlier, and that there was a 3/4 full wine glass that stood on the mantelpiece within reach of the bed. He thought the fluid was brandy containing a drug that smelled like ether. Um, but apparently, she had previously told the female landlady that she regularly gave chloroform sleeping drops to Thomas.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, so apparently his gums were inflamed from the dental work. Um, but apparently she had started giving him um, the sleep aid um, in order to get him to leave her alone at night.
So he got it for her.
No, she got it for him to leave her alone at night. So that way he would quit bothering her about her marital duties.
Ew. I'm good.
Yeah, me too. Um, but yeah, so he had only consented to a doctor stepping in for the birth until the last minute. By then, it was too late to save the infant, who was born dead. Adelaide then resolved to make no further attempts to have a child. She was like, done. So after that, I guess she uh, refused to have any marital duties with him after that, which I can't blame her. Yeah, because it says she no longer shared a bed with him. Both slept in the drawing room, she on a couch and he on a folding bed. And one reason was his foul smelling breath. Sometime previously, an inexpert dentist had cut back his decaying teeth to the gums and supplied dentures. Furthermore, he was convinced he had syphilis and apparently took mercury to treat it. Um, December of 1885, Edwin was treated by Dr. Leach, who diagnosed diarrhea and gastritis, which, of course, if you're going to be taking mercury, it's going to be going through you. A more competent dentist treated his painful mouth and removed decaying teeth and stumps. Although his physical health improved, Edward remained depressed, deluded, and hysterical. Adelaide requested a second opinion on his condition, giving the remarkable reason, if Mr. Bartlett does not get better soon, his friends and relations will accuse me of poisoning him. That's when a Dr. Dudley was called in. His gums were inflamed, but otherwise his physical health was sound. He recommended a daily walk outside, and Edward apparently suddenly began to demand his marital rights, a prospect Adelaide dreaded because of his rank breath and because Edwin had almost betrothed her to Reverend Dyson. And that's when she asked the Reverend to procure her some chloroform. But yeah, so she was acquitted, and nobody really knows how the chloroform got into his stomach because she never said anything. These were just all speculations of how she might have possibly have done it, but how she did it, she never said.
I still think it's with a funnel and a tube down his throat, or with a hold on. I can't pause this. Hold on. I've been trying to print the same thing for like 20 minutes. We're doing family dinner night on Wednesday, so
Did it finally print though?
no, it's printing now. The printer was offline. But is that
But yeah,
the curious, disturbing case of the mystery chloroform in the tummy?
it is an unsolved mystery.
Thanks. I hate it.
Trust me, I did too.
I love the research. I love that I have photos. But
You're welcome.
listen, finding photos is the hardest part.
It really is. Like, I can find links, I can find, you know, the information like crazy. Tracking down the photos, especially for older cases, so fucking hard. And it's annoying. Especially because, like, as time goes on, more people have the same names. So then you're like getting like more recent photos, and you're like, that is not who I'm looking for.
Well, the case that I'm researching for the 100th episode, there are so many people with that name now. And I'm just sitting there going, I'm not looking for somebody who's recently married. I'm looking for somebody dead. And finally found it like 20 minutes later, waiting for Rachel because she thought I was going to message her, but I thought she was going to message me. And
A miscommunication all around.
I sent you a message saying, I'm ready when you're ready. Is not miscommunication. It's not looking
Well,
with your
and I
eyeball.
looked at that and I said, and I read, um, I'm ready when you are. So, and I'm doing something. And so I was like, okay. So that's why I was like, okay. And figuring that she would send me the link when she got done doing what she was doing. Just like miscommunication.
I was literally sitting here just looking for photos of victims. That's it. Because I mean, so my whole thing for this whole podcast is mental health is first, right? And if you can't do it, you can't do it. You let me know. Like, this is my show. This is my baby. I share the limelight with Rachel. She knows this. This is my baby. I will do anything to protect this show. And one of the things is your mental health comes first. There were days where Rachel's like, I'm trying, I'm really trying. And I was like, we're not recording for 3 days. You know what? Let's make it 2 weeks. Take the time off. And she's like, no, we need to record. And I said, shut up. This is my show. I'm
That's why sometimes we have one person doing double or triple episodes because it's like we need to do this, but we don't have the spoons.
And if you don't know what spoon theory is, I'll break it down for you. There are a certain amount of spoons that we have allotted in each day. And sometimes we only have 1 to 2. Like Georgia yesterday, she needed to go run an errand. And she's like, I really need to go to Lowe's and pick out paint samples, but I don't know what I'm looking for. And I was like, not a problem. We'll go with you. We got to train her too. And we have to train her again today. And I know we need to go back out to Walmart to get a few things, like nothing big, but I just want to get some stuff for Wednesday so it's already done and I don't have to like stress about having to buy extra. But we went and she's like, thank you so much. I'm like, tell me, please tell me. Which is why Emily hasn't been here for a while, is because she's got mental health stuff going on. You know, if you're not okay, just say you're not okay. So she's working on her mental health. That's all I ask for. Um, so we're working on that. But that's why if you were listening to previous episodes, there were 4 in a row that I did, and there were 3 in a row that she did because I didn't have the
Right.
spoons.
Right, because we do what we can with each other and we help out. This is a partnership and not a dictatorship.
That right there.
But yeah, so take care of your mental health. If you need to see somebody, there's no shame in that game. Therapy is for everyone, not just for one person.
And if people tell you that they don't need therapy, they're lying. Like, I've already graduated therapy. I know I need to go back and do some stuff. Like, we're Rachel and I have already discussed this. Do not say anything. I know. But it's mainly like me saying, you need to take care of yourself. Me sitting there burning myself out at both ends, trying to do it all.
Hello, pot, says the kettle.
Which is why we're taking 3 months off and we're starting a new season because I found out, did you know? Podcast seasons are only supposed to be 30 to 50 episodes. Did you know that?
I did not. I do now, though.
I didn't. I had no idea. So here I am prepping for episode 100, which I am doing. That is my topic. That is my day. We're doing an extra topic in September. We have a calendar that we share between us. So let me pull up the calendar. You're getting a bonus episode before we start October, so that way we can have our 100th episode on October 1st. So that way we will have exactly 13 episodes for October, because who doesn't like 13 haunted episodes?
Did you see the little
How do I do that?
it's in the reaction? Gonna start doing that for when we do the applausing.
I love that. Speaking of which, I've talked to Alex, and his bandmates over at Nowhere Kids is still going to be making our song for us. Very excited for that. I was like, it's going to be used for the intro, the outro, and for our elevator music. He's like, seriously? And I said, yeah, if you make us something, we're going to use it for all 3. So we're going to probably use segments, but I'm very excited for that. But for the calendar, I think it's September 28th. I know I did a thing and another thing. September 29th is episode 99. Oh, I see that you put your topic in. So that way I know exactly what's happening and I can write the little descriptions, because
Yes.
I spend a lot of time working on the podcast. And if I'm not working on the podcast, I'm working on social media. And if I'm not working on social media, I'm reaching out to detectives. If I'm not reaching out to detectives, I'm working on the house. And if I'm not working on the house, I'm slowly losing my sanity. So, you know,
It's just multiple things all at once.
again, hot kettle.
I need the sign-in information for Adobe again.
We'll send that to you.
Okay, thanks.
I think you can just use your email and it lets you log in, because that's why I put your email. But anyways, that is our episode for today. And just because we like it,
do the stupidest of shit.
don't
Please don't.
stay feral.
Bite the hand.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. That's all for this episode. Stay feral, and we'll see you party possums next time.